Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, we are here live with Nysa Shepherd, and I am Allegra Jackson, the founder of Women into Networking Win. And we are going to be talking today about winning in sponsorships and grants. Now, if you follow me, you know that we talk about this in our funding bucket. And when you are a business owner, an entrepreneur, a creator, or whatever, when it comes down to impacting people and the opportunity to reach people, you are creating something whereas other people can now be a part of. That's why we create business. That's why we create community. And so with that being said, we want to change the dynamics of what we think about sponsorships and grants when we get into that space. We start off as individuals and then we end up as entities and communities. And what does that look like when now I myself am looking for grants? I myself am looking for sponsorships. What does it look like for me to ask for that for my community and for my business? And I have Nysa Shepherd with me, who has been amazing at doing it well since I think the last year. You've been thriving. And so we want to talk about that today. If you guys have questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. And we'll be sharing some of our insights and reviews. But Nysa, I would love for you to introduce yourself. And also, we can start the conversation off with whatever tidbit you want to give us.
Okay, so hello, everybody. I am Nysa Shepherd, CEO and founder of Miracle Moments LLC. And Miracle Moments LLC is based off my life, where I experienced my first miracle moment at birth with my esophagus and my stomach not connected. That has inspired me to help other individuals discover their miracle moment as well. And what we mean by experiencing your miracle moment, we help you with business cards, social media content, custom theme songs. It's those things in your business that you may feel is impossible. So with Miracle Moments, we help you make it possible, because sometimes you don't know where to start, but we can help you get that start from wherever you are starting from. So when it comes to sponsorships, I'm going to be totally honest, Dr. Allegra. So I took your master class in December. So that is how I actually got my start with the sponsorships. The class that you provided gave us a guide, a roadmap of how to encounter these potential sponsors and partnerships. It gave us the ability to know what to say and what not to say and how to structure it. So I could not have done it without the master class. That has really been very beneficial. And also, when I think about the sponsorship, I had to I didn't reinvent the wheel, but I took the wheel and made it applicable to my business and how we can partner with other businesses so that we're both getting visibility on both ends, but also getting that income and that sponsorship that we are desiring. So what I've done is use the roadmap that Dr. Allegra provided us, but also if something doesn't work for a potential sponsor, I'm tweaking different things. And it's okay to tweak the roadmap to what you're trying to do for your business, because not everybody's able to do like $1,000 or $500. So you don't want to close that gap. You want to make sure that you're still having the opportunity for not everybody, but those who desire to partner with you to partner without feeling like, oh, I don't have this much amount, I don't have this. So what I've done was I reached out to the people that I'm already in community with and like, hey, you have a business? I'm a speaker at a conference. You want to be in the room without being in the room? So this is what I can offer you. And that is what I've been doing. And I haven't gotten a lot of yeses, but I've gotten a lot of no's, but I've gotten yeses, if that makes sense. You're going to encounter this on your journey of obtaining sponsorships, but don't let that no discourage you. Listen, when I got like at least 2 or 3 strong no's from people that I patronized with already. So I was like, okay, well, these are people that I already do business. I go to their business. I do this and do that. So like, sure, I can surely get a sponsorship from them, right? That's what I was thinking in my head, right? Because sometimes we know these people, but we don't know if they're willing to sponsor or not, but we have to ask. You have to ask those questions because sometimes they'll say yes. Sometimes for me, the particular ones, they said no. And you know what? That's okay. The no means not right now, but you can always revisit it. So that's what I've been doing is working on the sponsorship, tailoring it to help, both parties get visibility. So I've gotten at least 5 bronze sponsors, and then also I've created a Miracle Moment supportive sponsor, which they're able to donate according to what they're able to do, but also they're getting visibility as well when it comes to the conference and also on my platform.
Just wow. That's a lot of great information. Thank you for sharing. I think people don't understand what it looks like because it's very foreign. And I'm glad you took the masterclass because I think that that's really what happens when we get clarity on things that we're curious about. So for those of y'all who are, popping in, this is one of those type of conversations that I have normally. I asked NYSA to come on so that we can impact, not only the speakers that are coming to the conference next month and the attendees that are going to be in the room. For me, I think it's so powerful to understand everything is built off relationships, right? So I love how you said you took the masterclass, but then when you went to go implement, you went to the community you knew, you went to the people you knew, and you didn't take the no personal. And I think that's really important because I said we start out as a single person, but then we end up as an entity. How do you transition that mindset where you're not asking for money for you to pay a bill for your household? You're telling them to sponsor your mission. You're telling them to join in on something that is equally beneficial. So I love how NYSA put it. Now, I will tell you guys this, talking about curating those sponsorship tiers, that's what I think you were talking about, knowing how to put together a sponsorship tier that people can understand and love. Because the truth, sometimes people are saying no to sponsorships because, well, there's a lot of different reasons why they say no. Okay. I get no's all the time. I'm so used to it at this point. I expect a no. If I don't get one, something's wrong. Something's wrong if I don't get a lot of no's, because most of the time what you have is particularly for certain people, right? So the people who have signed up as sponsors for NYSA's bronze and all the levels she has, whoever signs up for those levels, they're going to have a need or a want in those areas that's going to support them in their business too. Whether it's having their brand logo in the bougie bags or being able to have their banner there at NYSA's table while she's vending, or even being a sponsor for the entire conference itself and being digitally present at the conference. I think sometimes we don't get to know more about the person that wants to be the sponsor or is considering sponsorship. And so I'm more of questions more than answers when it comes to this thing. Okay. So shout out to you, NYSA. One thing I do, I would say, in order to get sponsors, my first sponsorship with Win was, I believe it was in kind. We needed a spot to meet up. And one of those spots was Pop Up and Create, because we needed to have a meetup spot that wouldn't charge us hundreds of dollars, just to get together in community and grow. And sometimes even the little things like that will stop you from running your business. Like, I can't even find a venue to do my workshop. I can't even find a spot where they will, just kind of partner with me rather than charge me an arm and a leg. So that is where sponsorships for me comes in, because when I know that my budget is very, very challenged, I call it, I have a challenged budget. And that value is there. I'm giving every day, right? I'm giving and I'm showing up and I'm doing what I got to do. But the budget is challenged. I have to align myself with people, right, who are going to be able to bridge the gap for me. So if it's something I need and I don't have the money for it, and like I have to get a venue to have my meetup for my community, well, I'm going to probably call around, and maybe I may not ask like, hey, can you pay for my venue? Maybe I might just contact the venue and have them sponsor the event by just donating the venue. Because there's plenty of spaces. Like, I know people who do their events in libraries and things. There's plenty of free spaces, but maybe it doesn't have the ambiance or the atmosphere that you need, right? So I've done that so many times. And those are some of my first sponsorships. And when people donating in kind, donating venues, donating stuff for the events, donating their time. Okay. So that was big. Now, I will say this, they may not have been official tier sponsors, but it's still part of sponsoring your business. It's still part of giving something that is going to help your business grow. And honestly, guys, if we acknowledge that in the smallest of the smallest of the smallest of the sponsors, then when we start doing call to actions in larger arenas, like when we start asking Coca-Cola, like I'm about to explain to you guys, for money, then it becomes very apparent as to how you recognize your sponsors and people who contribute. But if you don't do that with your small sponsors, you get to the big ones and you're like, wait, how am I supposed to promote them? How do I? So practicing with the smallest of the smallest people that say, hey, I would love to support your business. How can I support? If it's not monetary, hey, can you use your services to support me in this way? And I will shout you out and I'll let people know how amazing you are, and boom, boom, boom. And I'll put a social media post out. And then they might tell you, yeah, can you also share this? And it may give you ideas. So sponsorship is a mentality around who are you aligned with that really can benefit from offering what they have. Nisa, I see you in the comments. You're going off, girl. What do you got for us?
Yeah, because it made me think about when you talk about in-kind donations. This is what when some of the speakers ask me, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? What I tell them is, who are you already connected with? And like I know I told a couple, I was like, it doesn't even have to be, like you were saying, monetary. It's like I have this vendor that does some printing, and she's sponsoring my banner for the conference. So it doesn't have to, sponsorship is not always going to be monetary. Let's just always put that out there, right? Because you don't always want to go in with the mindset, oh, I need this much money, I need this, that. You want to build, like you were saying earlier, build that relationship. And when I first started with sponsorships, I was overthinking. I had the roadmap, but I was overthinking in my head. So one thing, if you have a roadmap or need a roadmap, or you like, a good source is ChatGPT. Like, you can go to ChatGPT, like, hey, I want to create a sponsorship tailored to my business of how I can, and make sure what you're offering, you can deliver on. So you don't want it to be this grand thing, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do it or not. But you want to make sure that you're able to do it. So like for me right now, I'm in the process of highlighting some of my sponsors of, like, on social media. I'm doing a live with them, like just talking about what they do. And then also that helps them as well. So when you're talking about the in-kind donations, do not think that in-kind donations are not worth sponsorship, because those are really great ways of getting sponsorship with in-kind donations, because you never know what that door can open up to. Like if you want your makeup done and you already have a makeup artist, like, hey, I'm going to the conference. I would like to partner with you to see if you can do my makeup. And in return, when people ask me, who did your makeup? Oh, I got my makeup done here. She's really amazing, really great, always on time, all the things, right? So that's like an in-kind donation, because they're doing your makeup. So I wanted to touch on that too.
Yeah, so many ways you can think about it. Thank you for bringing that up. I think this is one of those moments where we stop. I just told Nysa earlier, I'm stopping to assess, because we momentum in what you're doing, especially here in community, we win every day. Like we win. All we do is win. And when you have that sort of lifestyle in community where you're winning at so many things, when you're not necessarily getting what you want, and like sometimes we just keep going and going and going because we're like, oh, we're going to win. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But what if maybe the way that we approach the wins or the situations, maybe we really need to redirect more than move forward. Okay. I'll give an example. Like in the beginning, I said I was looking for, sponsorships and, just actually really getting WIN out there into the world. That was huge for me, because how can people sponsor something they don't understand or can't relate to? So number one, if your business is not out there in the world, like if you're not promoting yourself, if you're not talking about your business, if not established, like websites, social media, I can tell you guys, the first thing that the sponsors or anyone that I wanted to support my business would do is do their research, due diligence. They would literally, I would see them. They would follow me on social media after they did their research, right? Because they're like, okay, good. I can at least say that if I sponsor this person or sponsor this entity, that is real. So that's the that's the first barrier. If you want sponsors that you're going to have to get through as a startup, especially if you're a startup entrepreneur, you just started your business and you're like, oh, I'm in my bag. Like I'm making money because I got clients. That's cool. But if there's no credibility with your business yet or your brand yet, then you can have 100 clients. It wouldn't matter to someone wanting to sponsor you because there's no real evidence of your digital real estate that can prove that you're not going to be gone at a snap of a finger tomorrow. So I think like the conversation around it is really, number one, some people don't feel comfortable asking for sponsorships because they know that they're not at a place to ask, right? They're like, well, I don't have a presence, right? So I will say with that, we go to grants. We go to startup funding. We go to crowdfunding. We talk to people about their desires on helping a small business grow, like angel investors. So we have opportunities, but we have to understand what category we're in. So for those of us like for how Nysa said, she quit her job. She just went straight into she fired her boss and became her own. And then turned around and started thriving in her action steps on growing that thing, right? And I think sometimes people don't understand that Nysa was you were in business for over a year when that happened. So I don't think that this is a conversation to just say, hey, I started a business today. Let me go get some sponsors. It's not that. This conversation is, if you're in a startup, if you just started your business, okay, cool. Let me see how I position myself. And if I know that sponsors are real people that want to be aligned with my mission, let me make sure my mission is tight. Because if I say my mission and they don't understand what I'm doing, there's so many companies that I ask them, I go into their stores. I just did this the other day at the Beltline in Atlanta. I went to about I don't even know how many. It was over 10. And I said that each employee that I could find, I was like, what's your mission? I just asked each person. And there was only one store that knew their mission, only one store. And I could tell the difference. I could tell the difference. I could tell the difference in how that store was ran according to their mission. As a matter of fact, their mission wasn't just in their employees' heads. Their mission was stapled on the wall. So when you talk to people about the business, that's what they're looking for, right? Do you even know your mission so that they can align with it? Or are you just, running a business that kind of doesn't really have something that they can align with, right? Like, it's cool that you help these people, but what is the real mission behind it though? It's cool that you're a business coach, but what's the mission behind what your business is? Like, it's cool that you're all these things, but if they're going to sponsor you, like if they're going to come out and give you anything, they want to be trusting that this is somewhere that they feel comfortable. So yes, that credibility is first. Okay. So if y'all were taking notes, especially on the replay, write it down. I need to have credibility. And if you look at what credibility means, that's anything from the things that you do consistently on your social media. So if you pop in and pop out and pop in and pop out, people like, I don't know if I trust that, right? Because they're not sponsoring necessarily you as a person or sponsoring your brand. So you as a person popping in and out doesn't do anything for your brand. So to be a sponsor of what, right? So that's one thing I want to pay attention to. We can't pop in and pop out. If we're going to get sponsors, we have to have consistency. That is going to now take our credibility to another level, because it's already cool that we have a brand that's amazing, but then now we have a brand that's consistent. And I think, honestly, Nysa, I could literally stop there. I know I work in threes, but I could literally stop there and be like, if we just worked on credibility and consistency and just tweaked whatever we needed as we talk to each sponsor, I don't think we would have as many issues.
I think that's a good point. Yeah, I think that's a good point of getting clear on what we're doing, so that when sponsors come, like you said, it wouldn't be that hard. Sometimes you just got to go back to the basics.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Go back to
the basics. But let me ask you too, because this is something that you've grown in, and I told everyone, I said you are now going to be the fundraising manager, because I literally know that you're better than me at doing this, because you're not only you're a whole miracle moment yourself, but the way and the energy around the relationship building, the follow-up process, the learning that you're doing, right? I'm excited for you. But I'm also doing the same things, guys. But when you build a business, you want to allow people who are really good at what they do to also do that well within your company and get paid for it.
Yeah.
Why not? That's why we have businesses, right? We now can create jobs.
Yeah.
What was one of the challenges, Nysa? Because I know people are probably like, yeah, it sounds great, sounds easy. Like, I know y'all been doing this, but for real, what were some of the challenges that you think people can relate to?
Challenges, oof. I would say the follow-up. Like, we can have these sponsors, we have people that we're connected to, and we just send a message, and then sometimes we might just leave it there. I'm like, okay, well, personally speaking, I've done that. I've reached out to a few people, and I'm like, well, I don't want to bother them, but I had to remind myself, I'm not bothering them. I'm just reminding them, because we as people, we get busy. So we need that gentle reminder. I even had somebody say, no, okay, yeah, one of my sponsors, thank you for reminding me. Let me look back into this. And then within probably like a couple days, she locked in as a sponsor. So it's the follow-up is really, you have to really lock in on the follow-up. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. Yeah, it's gonna feel overwhelming, but you gotta do it because the follow-up could be the lock-in point. So, and even as I'm thinking about my own journey with the whole sponsorship, one challenge that I did have is I had to remove self out the way. I had to remove that negative doubt. Like, I know one thing that I was working on with in a therapy session is forward thinking, forecasting what somebody's going to say. So that can automatically take me out the game, right? So I had to work on myself. I had to continue. This is not just a one-time thing, y'all. This is a daily reminder for me. Get the negative thinking out the way. Don't think like that, because if you go into the situation thinking negative, then what you think your outcome is going to be? It's going to be negative, okay? So what I'm reminding myself, excuse me, what I'm reminding myself and reminding others is don't go into it negatively. Don't have the negative thinking. Go in there positive. Yeah, you can be real about it, but you also want to have the confidence, because if you don't have confidence yourself, who is? Literally. So you have to have that confidence. Like, oh yeah. And even if they say no, that's okay. Keep that confidence up. Just move on to the next person. Because the challenges are going to come, but it's how we handle them and how we move forward with grace is what's going to carry us through.
Yes. Can somebody, like, where's my applause button, guys? Look, Nice about to find it. So we are very solution driven over here. I love it because we're talking about winning in sponsorships and grants. And I'll be real with y'all. I'm at a point now where you just got to do the work. You just have to do the work. I love how you face the challenge of yourself. Hey there. Okay. We got sound. I need to buy one of those. NYSA has all the fun stuff. The only thing I have that's fun is the tapper. And I don't even use that no more unless I get one. Okay, so here's the thing. We're talking about sponsorships and grants, and this is not a heavy conversation. This is a community conversation. We say winning in sponsorships and grants because Women into Networking Win, our community, is all about empowering our women entrepreneurs and the men who support them in safe spaces. And a lot of these safe spaces include questions like this, like, how do I get more sponsors? And as much as we would love to act like, hey, I can just have it all together sometimes, like, we really don't. None of us have it together. We are all growing in a space where we're learning from each other. So even at this point, like, I'm no longer like, who do I look for the right answers? God. That is all. Because there is no one in this world that can give you all of the right answers in any area. So I'm very confident about, standing in my lane, not staying in my lane, but standing in my lane, 10 toes down, and going after everything that I know is for me, right? And that just takes really getting to know you, me, right? You get to know you, I get to know me, and everybody will probably be just fine. Because now we can learn, where we can have control, right? We can't control other people. We can't control someone, saying no. We can't control attitudes. So I love how you had to say, am I following up, or am I just making calls? Am I following up with the potential sponsor, or did I just make a call and call it a day? And I'll be honest, I do a lot of tracking, right? I'm very I think this is just how God created me, but I'm very analytical. So with that gift, what ends up happening is I can see things in a certain order, right? And so I can see numbers a certain way. I can just see graphs. I can just see certain things in a certain way, right? You tell me a story, I see it in numbers and graphs. And I promise you, when it comes down to sponsors, I had to create a sponsorship packet for myself when I was doing this back in the day. And I was like, how do you get more sponsors? I got mentored, I got coached. I shout out to SCORE, because I'm a SCORE mentor now. They helped me and supported me throughout my whole entire business career. www.score.org. I suggest for anyone who doesn't have a coach or a mentor right now, go there. Get yourself a free mentor. And business is not meant to be done alone. Okay. But I just thought it was very interesting how I had to put together a spreadsheet after being coached to see where I needed where the gap was, because I wasn't getting the sponsorship, right? Like I was doing the right steps, like I was taking the steps, but people were not biting. If anything, I would feel it at the door. Like I would make the phone call, or I would show up. Like me, I'm big on showing up. So a lot of times I'll just pop up on you, right? But at the door, I remember people being like, okay, like immediately, as soon as I got on the phone, as soon as I walked in the door, I could feel the attitude. I could feel the lack of energy. I could feel that, and I would immediately react or I would immediately react to that, because that's not responding. I would react to it, right? So if I saw someone, the way that they looked at me or how they were answering the phone, I would get in my head and I would start thinking, oh, they're going to say no. I ain't even asked the question yet. I mean, I'm literally already talking myself out, like Nysa said. So I had to go back to a spreadsheet, right? Because we're talking about winning in sponsorships and grants. So I was like, well, what is it about me that I feel like I need to adjust so that I can get the better results, right? Because you can't control anyone else. So I went to the spreadsheet and I found out that I was making the call, but I was one call, that's all. That's it. One call, that's all. So when I followed up with another call, maybe like down the line, and then I followed up to say, like, because I got coached, so I had to eventually follow up and things like that, and found out that they were just busy. Like they weren't ignoring me. They didn't have an attitude. They were having a bad day. Their kids was out of whack. Their husband was pissing them off, right? Like these people, because I would talk to people I thought would help me, oh, you understand my struggle, girl. You understand this, you understand that. They're like, we would love to have sponsored you. You just never called back. You just never followed up. So that follow-up, number one, is key. So that one simple thing can be it can be huge. That could be huge, because one day of not following up turns to 2 days of not following up, turns into a week of not following up. Next thing you know, all you're doing is talking to people about sponsoring you, but never actually following up to get their answer. Why? Why waste your breath to start the conversation and not finish it? What are you about to say, Nysa?
Okay, I'm so guilty of this. I am so guilty. Like when you were talking about making the call, what I'm thinking, because I have this particular place, organization that I'm getting ready to connect with, and I know this organization really well, but what I mentioned earlier is that we have to get ourselves out the way, because we can let our self-doubt hinder us from even reaching out. So being fully transparent, that is something that I'm working on right now concerning this particular organization. So it just, oh my Lord, definitely you can't do business alone. You have to have a community as well. So I just lost my train of thought.
It's okay. I have it all the time to me, girl. I'll be like, let me just sit in it real quick.
But yeah, it's like the sponsorships. This is what I was going to say. So even when you're visible about what you're doing, people will see and they will want to support. So I even also had somebody support me that doesn't even have a business. You just have to be out. You just have to make yourself visible, like Dr. Allegra was talking about, and people will want to support you just because they're seeing that you're continuing to show up. You're, no matter what you may be experiencing in your life, because they don't know, but all they're seeing is you consistently showing up, doing what you got to do, giving it your all, right? And they're going to want to support that. Just like earlier, don't stop promoting yourself. Like earlier, before I went to bed last night, I was talking about sponsorship. I was like, do you have a business? You want visibility? Well, long story short, I went back to the post. I forgot to put link in bio. I put link in, but I forgot to put bio, right? Well, and then I made another post that said, oh Lord, that's what happens when you work late at night, right? And then I was like, please click link in bio to make a donation or, something like that. But people are still seeing me show up. Imperfect, messing up, all the things, but I'm still showing up. So continue with the follow-up. If you reach out to an organization, don't get an answer right away, that's okay. Continue to follow up because like Dr. Allegra said, that follow-up could change a lot.
Yeah. I love how you're being very transparent. And I think this is where we start getting to the 1%, right? Because it's not for everyone to, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't have people to serve, right? Everybody's not, ready, equipped, or going up that ladder yet. So we're talking about when you are getting to that position. I personally, NYSA, just applied for another grant this past weekend. We're going to talk about grants for you guys as well, because outside of sponsorships, donations, we also operate off grants in our nonprofit. And I get a lot of questions around, well, how do you get grants and how do you get this and how do you get that? And I'm like, there's so many ways. Like, I think that that's part of the issue too, is that you have to be very strategic at which way you're going to go. So for example, I just recently, started submitting for volunteer grants, right? And volunteer grants are only for nonprofits, guys. Now they're not for profits. So sometimes we have to be very specific. Okay. When we have these conversations, it's not just for nonprofits. You can get sponsorships and grants for both for-profit and nonprofit. So when we have these conversations, even though I have a nonprofit, I also have a for-profit I get grants for, which is the Business Coaching Group. And I also accelerators and, different incubators that provide grants for clients that come to me. And I'm just very, very intentional now, opposed to years ago where, like I told y'all, I had a grants list. I had to figure out, like, why are all these hundreds of people not responding to me, when I'm reaching out? Come to find out, I wasn't following up and they had busy lives. They're just people. And so now I became more intentional. And so I started to really think about my relationships in business. And that really changed the dynamic for me. And so I started actually asking more questions in those relationships. So this is why we tell y'all, like, if you want to get a sponsorship, if you want to get a grant from someone, right, you shouldn't be reaching out when you need the money. You should be reaching out well before. So I always say, a year before you need that sponsorship or grant, you want to start having the conversation. Doesn't mean you have to wait a year. I just say a year because I know how time flies. And when you are starting a conversation, a year goes by like that. And before you know it, like, for example, Capital One, in order for them to sponsor us, we had to start talking to them a year before we were even considered. Capital One, if they sponsor you, they want to build the relationship. And I think that's the momentum of all businesses. That's the momentum of anyone in the market. So for me, when it comes down to that and grants, then as a nonprofit and a for-profit owner, I always discern the relationships. What relationships do I have with grant companies, incubators, accelerators, as a business coach? So not only I can support my clients with grants, but I can support me. Because when I need a grant, I need to be able to call somebody and say, hey, I need some money, right? And also being able to build relationships with large companies. Like as a nonprofit, we are in several facilities because we know that gets us in the door. But I'm also asking for money for my for-profit, for funding. and saying, hey, listen, like, yes, we have a nonprofit and we wanted you to be a part of the mission. And you know, the first thing that they start asking us about is the project name, the goal, how it matches with their mission, right? They start asking us very intentional questions, and I filled out so many applications. And once you're in the door, though, like Coca-Cola is one of our sponsors, we're just waiting for our approval for our next grant. But Coca-Cola has been sponsoring us for 2 years. So it's not that and it didn't take nothing but a phone call. So it wasn't like, oh, I need help. Can you please help me? Like, listen, I made one phone call. Sandy, who is my rep over there at the bottling company, was like, bet, got it. What do you need? I don't need to send you anything. She was like, no, what do you need? So sometimes we're overthinking it. Sometimes we're thinking, okay, it's a large company. I can't get in the door yet. But I want people to start having the conversations at least a year in advance. Even if you're thinking about the business and you don't know exactly what you're doing, you can just start doing market research. You can literally research your market and say, if I were to have a business, what companies would want to partner with me? What companies would be out there supporting the idea that I have? Now, if you don't have an idea that's different, don't make nothing up, right? But I'm the type of person where I'm big on learning. So even if I didn't have an idea, I probably would call them anyway and be like, hey, do you guys sponsor businesses? Okay, I'm curious. Now, here's what I'll say too, and I want to pass it over to Nysa in a second, because sponsorships are something that people, they usually want some trade for. So when they sponsor, they want like I was just talking to Scoot Orbit Studios the other day, and I'm in the building and I'm like, where are all your promos and your digital ads from your sponsors? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what? All this stuff, all this space here. And sponsors want to know, where are you putting me? Am I going to be in a place where people can see my brand well? Or are you going to put me somewhere where it's ghetto and I don't know these people? So that's sponsorships. I even talked to one of our, shout out to Alice and Olivia. Okay. Shout out to Alice and Olivia. They sponsored our conference, our gala at the end of the year. And they also set up a fundraiser in store for us. That was one phone call. Okay. But shout out to them. And I think like it's really important that sponsors feel they're aligned, where when they're in the room, they know, like I told her which venue we're at. I told her the people that are going to be in the building and what kind of vibe they bring. And she immediately, and when I say she, I'm talking about Chelsea, who's my rep at Alice and Olivia. She was like, oh, okay, good. Because I thought it was going to be at this other place. And I was like laughing, because she would have probably said no if I would have had my event at the end of the year at the original place I wanted to have it at. But I changed it because when I walked the venue, guys, immediately in my mind, as I was planning the gala, and this is over a year ago, I said, there's no way that people are going to want to be in this neighborhood. It's one thing to have a nice venue, right? But the neighborhood, like, it's telling something. So I want you guys to come with me in your business head, in your business mind, because we're no longer just people, hey, I like this neighborhood. This is my hood I hang out at. This is no, it's not like that anymore. When you have a business, your business is its own personality. It's its own culture. And so now people are not doing, they may like you, but they're looking at the business in its own sense to see how they can partner and sponsor with you, right? So when you get those type of people, and I mentioned Scoot Studios because they literally can just go on a belt line and sell sponsorships just like that. Nothing. Easy. But is a conversation being had, right? And do they see the value in what that exchange is going to be? That's the only bridge. That's the only gap that needs to be bridged. When it comes down to like Alice and Olivia, Chelsea, when she was talking about sponsorships, they could have said no, but the only reason why I believe that went well was because I changed the venue. So look at this, guys. Don't look at it as in, oh, they don't want to sponsor me because they don't have the money. Sometimes it's the location you pick. Sometimes it's a specific thing that you're doing. So having that conversation with a potential sponsor and saying what really aligns with you with this. And if they say nothing, and be like, okay, because you're looking at their brand. And if their brand you already know can benefit from being a sponsor to you, then that's a question mark. Why wouldn't they? And most of the time, it's not money. Most of the time, it's your credibility, your consistency, or the lack of presence in the market, right? Whereas they don't know what they're trading sponsorship for. All right, so real quick, Nysa, I know we're about to get out of here. I just want to say something about grants, and then I'll put this on replay on the Win channel, guys, and you can watch it again. Okay, so this is like so juicy because this is stuff I will sit down with my clients one-on-one with, and we will talk through resources and things that are going to support you from where you are. And if you're a little confused about like how to get the sponsors and it's probably because we see a surface layer of, oh wow, they just got sponsored, and then they're talking about how great the sponsorship relationships are, and but we get it out the mud here in our community, right? In Women into Networking Win, we have people that are like, I literally just started my business, I'm looking for sponsors, I need to know what that looks like, and I need to be guided. And so as we're doing that, right, sharing our resources, we're seeing like Nysa, for example, never really thought about, doing a sponsorship program, but I'm sure she's thinking about it now. like all these sponsors that she's getting from her efforts. Now we're going into new seasons, right? It's going to change over the year. People get the income taxes. They're going to want to spend money in different ways. You got to catch them to get their heart, right? Hey, you've been wanting to be this. You've been wanting to support, right? Income taxes around, hit them then. Same thing when it comes down to like around the holiday season stuff, it slows down. There's times around the year that it picks up. So you will always want to be having that conversation and growing in how you're building relationships with your sponsors, because they may say no in January, but they may say yes in August. I'll go over to grants. Anything you want to add to that, Nysa?
When it comes to grants, apply for at least one grant in the morning and another grant at night before you go to bed. Now, that does not say that I do that all the time, but it's a good practice to also help you get grants and stay focused in that area too.
And I agree. I think the thing about that is, as a owner of two well-established businesses that are constant and growing, I really do, for those of you who are in that phase, because Nice is talking about someone who would, be learning and growing and starting up. I think that's great. If you're growing and you're scaling, you're going to need to hire someone, and it doesn't mean that you have to pay them. I have hired, like right now, I have 2 interns that's working with me through the Win community program, Winternship program. And I mimic a lot of the same things that I used to do in my own internship program when I started it, which is really putting them to work. Like, so training them on specific areas. So like right now, if you are growing and you have interns that can support the business, or you had help, which is, I think, one of the biggest issues too, is staffing. Like, people have a really hard time getting the right help in their business. We'll talk about that another time. But I have not had a problem getting the right people in my business. I'm sorry, I can't tell y'all that. I can't lie to y'all. I attract very, very high achievers that like to learn, and people who are motivated by their goals. So when I look at, first attracting that, then you build on the people you have attracted, because most of my internship programs, actually all of them, I've never paid an intern ever. And I've been doing this since 2007. So when I think about, giving someone an opportunity, not putting them to work, that's what we're talking about. And saying, hey, can we, and this is what I always tell my interns. I tell them, especially when it comes to like sponsorship and grants, I give them a protocol. Nice. I love what you said. Apply one in the morning, apply for one at night. It depends on your capacity. If you are a mom with kids, that's not going to happen. If you have a job that requires a lot of you, like 9 to 5, my 9 to 5ers, that might not happen. That's not realistic, right? So I do want to also offer the idea of how do you use the people around you and the people within your company to help you at the stage where you just don't have the capacity to do it yourself. Whether that's because you have things going on in your life or because you're growing and you're scaling and you just can't afford to go back into the business and do the work yourself. You have to let your team handle it. So I want to say that because I know that for me, I have applied for grants, but I do have help. Like I have people on the back end that I can say, hey, like even NISA, I've called on you a couple times and I'm like, hey, I'm going to look into the cyber grants over here, but I need you to look into volunteer grants. I need you to look into donation matching grants, right? Like these things are real opportunities for me to pass down the torch, but then also at the same time, NICE is learning something she never had to do before. You want to talk about that a little bit? Because I think we definitely won in sponsorships and grants with that one.
Which one? You talk about the volunteer grants?
When I asked you to take over, when I asked you to take over for some of the grants and sponsorships for WIN, because I didn't have the capacity. And I'm telling all of you guys listening here, right? Because I have 2 paid staff members. That is it. Out of all the individuals that work with me, right? So that means I had to be creative. I had to create partnerships, internships, and things where the value exchange matched more than the paycheck.
Yeah, because you're learning a lot. You're learning, like literally for me, when it comes to especially like a volunteer grant, sometimes like I didn't even know like a lot of the volunteer grants, how it happens, what it all consists of. But like the other day I was working on the volunteer grant and I called the bank and then he told me what all needs to happen. I'm like, oh, okay. So it's also teaching me like if or whenever I get to the point of doing like a nonprofit or something like that, I know how to go about volunteer grants. I know like volunteer grants for nonprofits and or even with clients if they're looking for if they're a nonprofit and they're looking for doing different things. I have the tools and the resources because I've been given the opportunity to partner with Dr. Allegra and work on this project. So it is a lot of value in this. So yeah. And I had another thought. What was it? But this is such a great conversation because there's somebody out there in some point of their business and they're wanting to know about grants. They want to know about sponsorship, but they don't know where to start. But what we've been talking about is really great, that they should rewatch this live because they can gain a lot of information. I gained a lot of information just listening to Dr. Allegra not too long ago about the different sponsorships, about knowing your business mission and knowing about what businesses you would be able to sponsor or something like that, or would be good to sponsor with. And then also a tool we can use is ChatGPT. They can also it can also help us in that. And then also too, like when you're looking for sponsorships, what you can do is use ChatGPT, set you up an agent, like, hey, you're going to be my sponsorship assistant. Help me locate sponsorships for what we're trying to do. This is my business. This is my mission. And what we need to do is we need to check in at least twice a day. What have you found? How can we go about connecting with them? And believe it or not, y'all, this can really help you, provide you with contact information if it's available, or different ways of connecting with these businesses, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. But when you know, you are held responsible for what you know, and you have to apply it. I'm not just speaking to you guys, I'm speaking to myself, because what I've been learning, I'm applying it to myself. And sometimes I may not do it all the time, but I have to remind myself constantly, you're learning this. So apply it, because if I'm getting all this information, what's it going to do me if I don't do anything about it? Nothing. So
Yeah.
that's all I got.
Yeah, this is amazing. Thank you, Nisa, for sharing that, because it's going to be inspiring for someone. And actually it leads me to just kind of thinking about that next ascension. Like today we're talking to my channel, but this is hosted under the Women into Networking WIN. That's a community that I founded, and we have so many amazing members. Like Nisa is one of our top leaders there in the community. Being able to, share stages with her at like the conference and TEDx stages and everything that we've manifested together as a community. This is why we do what we do. And winning in sponsorships and grants, this is something that I personally like. Everything is win for me. Down the line, all the way from the time I wake up in the morning to the time I go to bed, to every single milestone, every challenge, right? Every like you said your no's, right? Like no from as per Lashana West, our corporate sponsor. Okay, no's are next opportunities. Period. So there's never like there's I've heard a guy say, he was like, I don't know what failure is, because I just always win. Like even when he said, even when I had brain surgery and I almost lost my life, and he said I was still a win. Like it's always like me getting everything that God had for me, because I got to go through the challenge to get to the win. So how can I call that challenge a loss or a failure? Like I would have never won without it. So I love the mentality shift. And honestly, in the WIN community, we have tested a lot of things. Like this is one of the areas that I think that we have grown in, sponsorships and grants, talking about what that looks like from the top down. Also, being able to talk about things that really we want to manifest. We have people in the WIN community that are now like, okay, I've written books, and we got Dr. Oliver, Dr. T. Oliver, shout out to him. He signed up as a WIN member. And he said, you know what, Allegra, I got to get involved. He said, because I have been wanting to be on the TEDx stage for so long. And now we get to actually present that TEDx environment for our WIN members first. Y'all get to pull up, right? And you get to talk on stages. And that's another thing that I think is like, we don't think about that as credibility, right? Like we don't think about like for me, when I get to walk in rooms, because I'm a SCORE mentor and because I'm, Start Me mentor, I did those on purpose. It wasn't like I just wanted to like spread myself thin, right? These are ways to build, your credibility in the market, so people know who you are and know what you do. And when you stand on these stages, then we don't have so much around, oh, who do we get to sponsor us, right? Who do we get to, to work with? And I will just shout one of our sponsors out, Dr. Bonnie, who was one of our latest sponsors of, last month. It was so interesting because she doesn't know me from a can of paint when I talked to her. Like I literally had her suggested through one of my clients, and I just, it was from asking. Every single thing that I got this last year was from asking. I asked my client, do they have a radio station that I can be a part of? That's where I got that connection. Now we're on the radio. I asked my client, do you know anyone who understands more about relationships in the market? We're looking for more sponsors. And she's like, oh yeah, I'll give you Dr. Bonnie. She's amazing. I call Dr. Bonnie, reach out to her, give her, the spiel. This is what I do. This is who I am. I'm just trying to get to know you, build relationships. And she immediately was like, what do you need? What do you mean? What do I need? I don't know you. You don't know me. But because of the relationship component, right? I knew the person that she met that she helped before at her event, which was my client. And then I referenced my client to her and said, hey, like, this is what I do. And her heart matched the mission. So it was just a whole vibe. So you never know what kind of relationship you're going to walk into. Just keep asking. Ask for what you want. A application is paramount for progress. Absolutely, Valdez. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Ask for what you want, because to be honest with you, I wasn't asking a lot in the past. I wasn't saying to other people exactly what I needed. What I was doing was I was saying, hey, I need help, but I wasn't telling them what I needed help with exactly. Like what do you need help with? Do you need $5,000 to do this? Okay. Or are you just saying I need money? Or are you just saying I'm having a hard time? I remember one day, shout out to my mom. I know she don't mind me kind of using her as an example because she's also a client of mine. But I remember one day, she kept saying something. I heard her say it. She kept saying it. She was like there was a problem somewhere, right? And I was so occupied in what I was doing. I was just thinking, well, she's not really talking to me, right? So I just tuned it out. Come to find out later on, she was really hoping that I just heard what she said and chimed in to help, right? And I asked her, I said, well, why didn't you just ask me? Like, why didn't you just say, hey, I need you to do ABC? And she was just like, oh, because she was overwhelmed. She had a lot going on in her head. And it was hard for her to say, like, I need you to do step 1, step 2, step 3. And so instead of her getting results, she got frustrated. And I was completely confused. Like, I can definitely help you, but if you need my help, I still need to know specifically what I need to do. So sometimes we're not asking for exactly what we want. And I think that's a big thing because it starts with us. It starts with, us in our homes. It starts with us in our relationships, right? Like even my fiance, you ask him right, baby, ask him right now, very specific. Okay. Because I can't afford having a relationship, set on fire because I didn't ask for exactly what I want. And now we arguing back and forth because he don't know what I want. You need to know specifically what I'm asking for. And if there's a lack of understanding, then that's our job. Our job is to communicate to get lack of understanding, to get more understanding. So when I talk about this in that sense of, building the relationship, asking for help, asking for exactly what you need help with, I'm doing that now more myself, right? When I applied for that $1 million grant in January, that wasn't because I was like, oh, I want to apply for $1 million. And no, I know I need the $1 million in order to do the things that we're going to do. And this is why I tell people in their business, you may be alone and you may feel small and you may feel boom, boom, boom. That's cool. But there's going to come a time where you're going to shift and it's going to open up your eyes and be like, oh my God, I didn't even know I needed that. I didn't even know I needed to have this in place. I didn't know I needed the money to make sure that was operating. So now you have to figure out, that's why we say always have a coach or a mentor to help you transition through that, right? But you're going to have these moments where you're going to need to kind of like change and shift. And so I promise y'all, when you are asking for what you want in your personal life, and you're practicing, those boundaries, right? Like don't give up too much of your time for things that you're not going to get back in. Because when you do that in your personal life, it does it in your business too. So I always practice that. And when it comes to grants and sponsorships, that is the mindset of receiving, right? I remember doing a live stream about money blocks. And we talked about some people, they are so closed off to receiving and they don't ask for help. And it's a very toxic mentality, but that's really the problem. It's never the So when we start that there, then when it comes to our business, what happens is you start getting bold. And then you start asking then you start asking other people the questions that really need to be asked. Like, why aren't you sponsoring me? Why aren't you supporting? If your mission is to do A, B, and C, why aren't you out here with businesses like me? So the mentality is different. So yes, $1 million, it needs to be had. But there's no fear around, oh, am I going to get it? There's no fear around that. We're going to get $1 million. The question is, where is it going to come from? And I will say with that intention, and this is why I tell y'all, like I think 3 or 4 years ago, we were in the Clubhouse room and people were like, $1 million, $1 million. And then my friend who had $1 million, she was like, okay, what you gonna do when you get to $1 million? The same thing I'm doing now. Okay. So then it's not about the money. It's about the impact you're making with this. So So why don't you just focus on the impact and then talk to people about the money? And I was like, oh, okay, sis, we got it together. So that's exactly what happened. And with those transitions now, right? So January has hit. Now we go into from asking to tracking, which you didn't ask for the grant. You put in the application, which if you guys really want to know, I'm going to be doing another masterclass about that later on. So don't worry. I'm not going to leave y'all high and dry. Just make sure you stay tuned for that, because we went over the first part, which NYSA, she got that. So she got her 5 sponsors. But now we're going to go deeper into how that looks to track your sponsorships, because we call it leaving money on the table. A lot of times people are just figuring out how they can support you. And if we only say, I'm just going to call them, and then if they don't support me, if they give me a no, that's it. It don't work like that. So you have to track it, and you have to say, well, I applied for $1 million in January with this company, with this company, with this company, with this company. Write it down. And then in a month, you check back. And when you check back in a month on those grants that you applied for, you also look at the gap and you say, well, while I was waiting, did I apply for any more grants? So I want you guys to start with the intention of asking, because a lot of us just don't ask. And that's part of receiving. That is not only a mental thing, that is a spiritual thing, because God says you have not because you ask not. So we want to be in a position of receiving. And on top of that, and I'll say this last, because I know I can go on forever with this, but we got to get out of here. Be open to the changes that are going to come your way when you start asking. You're going to get uncomfortable. You're going to feel judged. You're going to feel rejected. You're going to have to sit in the feeling that you have and figure it out. Because it's not about how you feel. And that's what I want all of you to understand. It's not about how you feel. It's about what was done. Okay. So did you ask? Did you track? And then did you follow up? Now, if you go through that process and they go, oh, no, we're good. That's very rare. But if you do go through that process, at least you did it and you can say it was done, and that's a win. And you go to the next one, because that gets you closer to your yes. All right. I'll stop there, because this can get very complex, but I do want y'all to at least have a very, starting point, and then we'll come back, myself and NYSA, and we'll talk some more about what this really does look like. Make sure you guys sign up as a WIN member in order to be a part of these conversations. And I will drop the link in the chat. That way, when we go live in our members lounge and our groups, I told NYSA that the doors have closed in 2026. And I know that in 2025, we did a lot with our memberships, but we are a community. And so we wanted to make sure that people had a chance to not only be in community, but to also be supported, okay, while they're in the community from our nonprofit causes. We have projects and programs that we get funding for. We have members that pay their membership donations every single month, right? We have people that come into this. So we've created a structure now. So if you are not a part of that structure, we don't want you to miss out. And we're telling you to just get your membership. And it's not actually open. NYSA, I know she put her code down there. Thank you. The membership is not open until April. So that's what you guys are going to have to do, is you're going to have to get into our subscription. So when you go to the website, you're going to see the membership page. It'll tell you exactly what to do. It'll also let you subscribe if you want to go ahead and get your text messages to us. We are building that so that you can get direct connection and communications from us. And that's going to help us really get past the noise. There's a lot of emails going out. There's a lot of, messages on Facebook and Instagram, but we know the community members that are really serious and they want to stay on top of the things that we're doing, then we're going to be sending out those SMS reminders as well. So make sure you guys sign up for all that, and then you'll get the invite to be the member in April when we do open enrollment. But I think that's pretty much it for me, Nysa. We'll have more conversations down the line as they follow. But go ahead, the mic is yours.
Yeah, I do want to say this when you were talking about asking about sponsorships, right? So one of my sponsors, she's also in my community on TikTok. So she knows I'm doing the conference. And so like when I go live, one of the things that I talk about is like, yeah, I'm Nysa. I give my spiel. And if I fail to mention about the conference, she was like, nope, you didn't do it right. Say it again. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead. I was like, yeah, I'm also a speaker at Women Empowering Generations Conference. I have a link in my bio. If you want to be a sponsor, I have different tiers. Click the link in the bio. Choose the sponsorship that works for you. So it's saying that it's important to surround yourself with a community of people that want to see you win as well, because not everybody in your circle is always going to support you. But if you have at least that one person that's going to continue to push you every time, like I'll go live or my sister will go live, it's just like, what about the conference? What about the conference? They're like, oh yeah. So we'll start back over. Yeah. But it's very important to ask, because if you don't ask, how do you know if you'll get that yes?
Yep. I think that's a great way to just kind of finalize this conversation. And for those of you who are coming to the conference, we're really excited. I was talking to a couple of attendees this past week, outside of, the speakers who won't speak at this conference, but we still have opportunities for speakers. I'll let Nysa mention that for you guys who are like, I missed the opportunity. Y'all didn't miss anything. We are going to have, let me see. So for this conversation we're going to talk about the time frame. So y'all just stay tuned for this. Also, it was something I really wanted to say to direct you guys. We have, I want to say we have a speakers call on Clubhouse that you guys can join next Wednesday, but I don't know for sure. So I'll have to check on that. Okay. I want to keep you guys abreast on where we're going to be presenting. I even had to wrap my mind around it because we do so much in the wind, right? We have networking rooms, we have morning AM affirmation rooms, we do our live streams, we have win takeovers, we have members events, we have online and offline meetups. It's like we have a conference. Now we got TEDx stages and a win radio. So because there's so much that we're growing and evolving in, I'm very strategic about, hey guys, you need to come here and you need to make sure you come to this conversation. If the conversation resonates with you guys, and this is what I want everyone to do, I want you to start reacting and start actually putting yourself out there. Y'all listen, if you haven't started dipping your toe in,
So everybody, definitely, I do want to continue. We are also seeking volunteers for the WIN community. I put the link in the chat, and I'll put the link back in the chat. Hold on one second.
I forgot to plug my phone in. I'm gonna put my laptop in, but I was ending anyway, guys. So it's not a big deal. I was just saying, yeah, don't dip and dabble in here. Not this year. This is not the year you want to do that in. Okay. So just make sure you guys, if you have questions, definitely reach out to us and follow us on all of our social channels at Women into Networking. And I think the only thing outside of the speakers calls on Clubhouse that we're probably doing, can't remember what the other thing was. It was one more thing. Okay.
I had mentioned to them the volunteer with WIN. I put the link in the chat.
Yeah, so I'll let you take that part, but I just want to say thank you guys for joining us today. Also, make sure if you are coming to the conference that you get your tickets now because I'm actually thinking about ending the ticket sales early. So I just want to make sure y'all are aware because I do have to get a lot of these supplies and a lot of these things ready for the conference in a week's time. And I'm looking at the turnaround, and guys, it doesn't make sense to keep selling tickets if I'm not going to be able to get y'all stuff in less than a week. So, so I'm being very, very intentional. So if you guys really do want to get your tickets, I would think it'd be wise to just go ahead and grab your tickets today. Okay. Go ahead, Nisa. Just end the live with your, the things that you know you need to share, and I'll see y'all later.
Oh yes, so guys, we are the Women into Networking is continuing to look for sponsors. So I put the link in the chat. You do not have to be in Atlanta to be a volunteer. Now we're looking for volunteers from all over, but you do have to be committed. If you don't think you're going to be committed, maybe this time is not for you to volunteer, but we want committed individuals that are wanting to volunteer with WIN. And also, this is a great community to partner with. So you will be doing yourself a service to be a volunteer. Now, also, we are looking for volunteers that are actually in Atlanta for the Women Empowering Generations Conference. So connect with me, and we can get you connected to be a sponsor or volunteer. But like I said, we want to make sure that you're committed. We don't want you to be like, oh well, we want you to be committed. Okay, this is a great community to be a to be connected with. So when you join WIN, when you become a member, become a volunteer, we want to make sure that your commitment is solid. And with that, I will yield my mic. Remember, you're loved, you're amazing, and every moment in life is your miracle moment when you volunteer with WIN. So volunteer, okay?
We've had Nisa saying this because Nisa has always put her time in. Honey, the volunteers will tell y'all better get it in. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Nisa. And thank you guys for being here, listening, watching. I have to get back to work. Y'all already know it's behind the scenes action here, but definitely make sure you follow Nisa. Get with her about, anything when it comes down to sponsorships. She's working on our volunteer grants here at WIN, and we've already gotten great traction. We know that we're going to be very successful in our ability to win this year, even more than we've ever been before, because now we are positioned. So, y'all, get in line, okay? All right. Have a great day. We'll see y'all soon.